Hey everyone, Dr. Nicole here, and I'm so excited to share with you my carnivore experience. I spent 30 days eating nothing but animal protein and fats, and I can't wait to tell you all about it. So yes, Dr. Nicole here, and I am a huge proponent of using food as medicine. And so as I started learning about a couple of years ago, I had been on a seminar and they talked about how removing all fiber from someone's diet and just eating meat and fat only could actually be really, really helpful in serious situations where there's a lot of overgrowth bacteria, things like yeast or candida, and people with serious autoimmune, and digestive autoimmune in particular, like Crohn's, would really benefit from this. So at that time, I happened to be working with someone who had Crohn's, and I felt she might have SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And from my seminar that I had attended, I learned that a really inexpensive, easy way to test for SIBO was to just eat only meat and good, healthy fats for 2 weeks. Now, this was not considered carnivore because these fats were any kind of fat, including vegetable fats like olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil. But after doing this for 2 weeks, her tummy was flat. She wasn't having bloating, gas, or pain. Her digestion changed drastically. And so I started using this along with other supplements to really help neutralize whatever bacterial imbalances there were for her. She saw a drastic change. And since then, there's been a lot more coming out about how the carnivore diet is beneficial. So one of my things that I really feel I can stand by is that I wouldn't ask somebody in my practice to do something to change their health that I wouldn't do or haven't done myself. So in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to have to do that. And just learning more from Paul Saladino in particular, who happens to be one of the experts in this area. He has a lot of YouTube videos. He's in quite a few interviews and podcasts where you can get so much information. He's a wealth of knowledge about this. And long story short, just after researching just a little bit, I realized, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to experience it for myself so then I'll feel more comfortable making this recommendation, because what I'm noticing that happens is people have opinions about things they don't know about. Everybody's different. Sometimes we have to take drastic measures and strategies to get our bodies to heal. The thing about eating meat only, why this and animal fat only, why this was so effective for helping that practice member a few years ago was because we took every single bit of fiber, carbohydrate, and sugar out of her diet completely. And there was absolutely nothing for any bad bugs, bacteria, candida, parasites. Not that there weren't any for her, but they just can't survive without that stuff. And so I decided to take this challenge. So here's some of the rules that I'd like to kind of talk about with carnivore that I tried to follow. The first was animal products only. So we do have a farm club down here in South Florida. And so it's called Pastured Farm Food Club, and they bring food from an amazing farm in Pennsylvania, where it is the cleanest grass-fed, pasture-raised. There's no chemicals used in the processing of these meats. And they also offer things like chicken fat, duck fat, bone broth, eggs, raw, grass-fed, organic, clean dairy. So I loaded up with the farm. And so some of the rules are it's got to be clean. I have watched some other videos where there are people talking about going carnivore and what they're eating, and they're getting 4 hamburgers or 6 hamburgers from Wendy's, just the patties. And I'm sorry, that is not a healthy way of eating, no matter how you slice it. If you're going to try this, you have to eat healthy meats because you're getting all of your nutrients from these animal proteins. And so you've got to use the cleanest, most nutrient dense foods that you can find. Hello, Dr. Nicole here. This house is starting to smell yummy because I'm making a grass-fed brisket. And here it is, slow cooking. I am now 8 or 9 days into the carnivore way and a little bored, I have to admit, with the food, but I feel good and just trucking along, trying to come up with some different things. That's just bone broth in there and salt and a grass-fed brisket from the Amish farm that we get our brisket from. So I'm really looking forward to having that later on tonight. Okay, keeping it going. So that was what I did. I ordered a whole bunch of stuff, even things like sausages, because those sausages didn't have any nitrates. You're not supposed to have any cured foods. So I was able to actually get a little break from the plain stuff. And you can also have salt. Eggs are considered animal protein, not just meat and poultry, but wild caught fish. So we want healthy fish with the least amount of toxicity. Pacific fish is what I consider the cleanest. We do deal with some radiation issues in the Pacific Ocean, but making sure you're just getting your iodine in general is a great way to kind of counteract that and protect your thyroid. But so I did have fish, but because I couldn't use things like herbs and lemon and spices, it was very difficult for me to have fish. I found one sugar-free sockeyed salmon that was smoked. It was not cured with any chemicals. And so that was really helpful because it was kind of like having a treat. And then, like I mentioned, the raw dairy. However, the biggest mistake that I believe that people make when doing this diet is not eating nose to tail. So Paul Saladino does talk quite a bit about nose to tail. That means eating the brains, the heart, the kidneys, the liver, cartilage and different things like that. So not easy to do. I will tell you, even just eating meat for some meals, my team can tell you, grossed out. I was grossed out sometimes. It wasn't always easy. I missed my salads greatly. Thankfully, the farm that I mentioned, they actually offer meat with organ meat in it, in a ground up, like ground beef. So they'll add organ meat or buffalo. So I was able to kind of hide those organ meats in the ground meat. And I probably had it maybe once a week. It was really hard for me to, I was very heightened taste buds. And so I could taste everything. So it wasn't easy. You can have sea salt. I did have coffee. That was the only thing outside of what I was supposed to do was I did have coffee. And I did use ghee in my coffee. So that may or may not work for you. You can also use butter. And so that was really helpful though, because one of the things that I did notice was when I would eat, number one, when I wasn't eating enough, I would get tired. So I know some people have reported fatigue on eating this way, but I noticed that would come with, it was time to eat. I wasn't moody or anything like that. I just noticed I would feel a little tired. And I think the other mistake that a lot of people make on this is they're not eating enough. So I do use a lot of fasting and intermittent fasting strategies. So when it is time to eat, there was one day where it was towards the end where I actually roasted a chicken and it was phenomenal. It tasted so juicy and good. And there were all those juices. So I was eating everything dipped in juices and I ate the whole chicken. I've never done that before. I don't ever really want to do that again. I don't normally even eat a lot of chicken, but it was a soy-free pastured chicken and it was delicious. I ate the whole thing. Here's a picture. So my biggest takeaways from this. So first and foremost, I should not be eating dairy. That was my number one takeaway. I don't normally eat dairy. I do have allergies and sensitivities to dairy. It really has been something I've struggled with most of my life. There have been windows where I've been able to tolerate it. However, I really hadn't eaten in quite some time, so I ordered some raw organic dairy. I had a camel kefir, a goat cottage cheese, and some raw grass-fed cheddar. So those were the three things that I had ordered from the farm. And each one of those that I tried, I had serious digestive upset, gas, pain, and diarrhea. So for everybody's different, but it did take me several days after eating those things to feel normal. It really upset my whole digestive tract. So if you already know there's something that you don't tolerate, it may not be a good time to start playing with that. The other thing I did notice was I really had to watch the eggs. I normally also am pretty sensitive to eggs, but I can have them once in a while. So maybe I'll have eggs once a month, once or twice a month. But I'll only have like maybe 2 or 3. But now I'm not eating anything else. So I know there was one meal, the first time I had the eggs, I was starving. I made one of my Jewish heritage favorites. I put the beef tallow. So I used animal fat and a little ghee in the pan. And I cooked up that smoked sockeye salmon that I had that didn't have anything but salt added to it. And I then put 8 eggs in the pan. And also this did not go well. For a few days after, I did notice that I did struggle with some digestive issues. So the following meals, because I was eating eggs about once a week on this, so only 4 or 5 times maybe throughout the whole month, I just cut back. I went down to less eggs, more of the salmon. And then I seemed to be okay. It was just getting past that point where it's just way too much for my body to tolerate. But for the most part, really interesting, since I'm talking a little bit about the GI tract, there was 0 gas, you guys. So for all you gassy people out there, and I'll tell you, since then, even with eating, adding vegetables and things back in, I have noticed definitely a change in how my digestive tract has been working. Just overall, just feeling less bloated. I did lose 5 pounds in the month. So I was really happy about that. And I gained 3% muscle, which was, or 3 pounds of muscle, 3 pounds of muscle. And I lost 5 pounds of fat. So that was really awesome. My glucose was great. My glucose is normally great anyway, but it a lot of times hovers around 90. So this whole entire time it was in the 80s. I do test ketones as well. My ketones fluctuated. I was mostly in ketosis the whole time, but the proteins are so high. Your body can use protein to break into sugars. So I would say my ketones overall were on the lower side. I had no problems with focus or concentration. I don't ever have problems with that anyway. So that's not something I deal with. So I was always clear the whole time. I did notice my energy would tank a little bit, like I said, when I was hungry. I did notice I was really, really strong at the gym. I felt great at the gym. I didn't have any trouble doing all of my regular workouts. It was no change whatsoever. I did have cravings. Yeah, it was kind of boring. That was the monotony of eating those kinds of foods. It was difficult, even without spices, you're really only supposed to have sea salt. So it was a challenge. I was bored. My team at my practice, every time it was like time for me to eat, I was kind of not looking forward to it. I would, look at my food, sometimes walk away. It wasn't easy in those regards, but if you're going to try this, the thing that I do recommend is I would write down your purpose before you do it. If this is for health challenges, because this type of diet is amazing for people with autoimmunity. I would say an easy segue into this is learning and getting your body into ketosis, because then you won't go through that keto flu kind of feeling where your body's missing the sugars and the carbs and all of that. And then segue from keto into carnivore. And so I think part of my success and how it wasn't that difficult with my energy and clarity, and I felt fine pretty much the whole month, with the exception, like I said, of my digestive tract, was that I am pretty much in ketosis, in and out throughout the year, all the time. My body's pretty adaptable because I do a lot of strategies to have that occur. Something else that I found was great, my sleep was fantastic. I'm almost 49, and my hormones are starting to shift and change. And although most of the time I sleep great, there are nights now sometimes, and this is just helping me learning what I need to be doing to change. I didn't have any struggle whatsoever, and even one night a week with a full, restful, deep sleep. I was sleeping great through the night, very deep sleep, feeling very rested in the morning. So really restorative sleep. Loved it. I really found that to be awesome as well. So I had so many positives. And like I was saying, if you're going to do this, go ahead and really write down your purpose, because it isn't easy eating just meat and animal fat. And for those of you that can't really tolerate things like eggs or dairy, to break up all that meat and poultry and fish, it does make a big difference. And you do need to try to work in the rest of the animal, not just muscle meat, because there's so many nutrients that you're going to be lacking. I think that there was one study that found that folate goes down on this type of diet, and I do believe it's because those people were not eating the whole range of fats and body parts and so on, because animals eat vegetables, animals eat grass. They're storing all of that stuff. And so when you eat them, you're getting all your nutrients. And there are studies that say that there are people out there saying there are no actual studies telling us that we need to be eating vegetables. And Paul Saladino, he describes it amazingly on how, plants are in the ground and they don't have any way to fight. And so they have built-in poisons and natural mechanisms that they have, so they're not eaten. So there's some great reasons why. And, some of the things I love, key points that some people use to argue why this diet is great, is number one, the evolution of the human brain. The size of the brain, when we were going through periods where mostly animal fat and meat were eaten, is when we saw these nutrient-dense, energy-rich food sources, is when we saw the human brain grow. Also, as the brains were growing, the length of the digestive tract was shrinking. So the evolution of the gut size. So herbivores, they have complicated digestive tracts that are designed to break down plants. Humans, we have less complex. And so it's harder for us to break that stuff down. They've done anthropologic studies that have found evidence of meat eating among our ancestors going back millions of years, and how there were important clues that they found along the way that, these animal bones showed probable evidence of, eating the marrow and butchery. And so these are things that we've been in our ancestry. This is how our animals, or how we ate in the past, our ancestors. But just realize there was also a lot of feasting and famine during that time. So fasting is really, really helpful during this. And that's why, if you are doing any type of fasting, just eating like a chicken breast to break your fast, it is not going to be enough. You're going to be eating pounds of meat every day. I might be making some of you vegans cringe, and I get it, but I work with vegans all the time, and you guys have a lot of inflammation and a really upset gut health, because there's a lot of inflammatory foods of you trying to get your diet right. Be open. I'm not saying you have to be carnivore for the rest of your life, but just like veganism, I feel should be something that, if you're going to do it, should not be lifetime veganism. It should be a strategy, just like keto is a strategy, paleo is a strategy, fasting. These are strategies. And you should be rotating. Different seasons bring different reasons of eating different things. So I really believe that we are part of our environment. And when the environment changes, our diet should shift as well. So you never want to just be the same and eat the same things forever. I don't feel that helps. There are different studies as well about the use of vitamins and how the agricultural revolution brought a decline in health. And there are actual books out there that talk about bringing grains into the diet, how we started having tooth decay and digestive tract issues and so on. So there's a lot of reasons to do this. It was a great experience for me. I think that if you do have digestive tract issues, autoimmune issues, even hormone issues, that this could be a way that you could reset your body. I am getting labs done on tomorrow. I'm getting some labs done. So it has been a month since I finished carnivore, but I am looking forward to seeing if anything has changed. My cholesterol was always really good and my blood sugars and things like that. So not really a concern for me. I'm curious to see if it has shifted. It's been 4 weeks, so it's kind of a long time since then. But like I said, if you're going to do this, just do your research, make sure you're really covering all the bases with your nutrients, and maybe give yourself a challenge, write a purpose. I really hope that this is helping you. And don't forget, I do have my new book, Awaken Wellness, is out there. It's on Amazon. Taking Back the Power to Control Your Own Health is why I do these videos. I want you to have that power, take it back, and know what you can do and be putting into place every day in your life to be as healthy as you could possibly be. Because when you have your health, you have 1,000 dreams. And when you don't, you only have one. So I'm Dr. Nicole. Please subscribe to my channel. If you want to comment, I would love to hear your feedback. I check the comments myself. I will respond to you personally. And I would love to have you join me on one of my upcoming seminars or fasting workshops. And I want you to have an amazing, healthy, and happy day. So make it great.